Well, hello, hello, hello. Grand rising, grand evening, grand afternoon to wherever you're at. Welcome to the Love Stream hosted by me, Dr. Flora Luyando. I definitely want to begin by giving a great shout out to our Harlem Committee Planning, Miss Karen Ann Webster, our strategist in the making. We thank you so much for starting it out, rocking it off at the amazing morning show you had this morning with our special guest, Tori Washington, about vegan life. And so now I'm here today in behalf of Harlem Holistic Wellness Week, starting today and ending May 2nd. Look on our page to look at all our schedules at Harlem Holistic Wellness Facebook page. So I'll begin with my show that I've been speaking about that is very important in reference to understanding health in such a beautiful way, holistically, body, mind, and spirit. So I welcome you to the Love Stream, a place where awareness happens, knowledge, freedom, and flow of the highest vibration, discussions and topics that may make you feel uncomfortable. But as healing becomes awareness and less suffering will dissolve, it will transform to your own truth. So being uncomfortable is where you need to be at times. And I welcome you to the Love Stream. So today our special guest is Mr. Fabian Fernandez. He is a massage therapist that holds an occupational studies degree in massage therapy at Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. He is also accredited in the National Certification of Board of Therapeutic Massage and Touch. He is also certified in body work with working with infants. And he has an advanced certificate in pediatric massage therapy. And he also teaches at Pacific College of Oriental Medicine, and he focuses on the essential benefits of aromatherapy and essential oils. And more now than ever here in Harlem Holistic Wellness Week, we feel that it's very important due to the unfortunate pandemic that essential oils are very, very essential more now than ever. So I'll welcome Fernando. Please, Mr. Fernandez, welcome us.
How you doing, Flora?
I'm doing wonderful. Good to have you here, Fabian.
It's good to be here.
I'm glad. So please speak a little bit about where you studied at for essential oils.
Like you, I'm an alum of Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. I went through their AOS, Occupational Studies program, and I arrived at that place because I was born with a particular kind of arthritis. It's called ankylosing spondylitis. And by the time I went to school in 2012, I'd had over a dozen orthopedic surgeries. And I was so inspired by the people who helped me, physical therapists, doctors, and the like, that I wanted to pay back, as it were. And the physical, is I need to be in motion, and the physical aspects of massage therapy are useful to me in that they keep me moving, and I get to help other people at the same time.
Yeah, it's a wonderful view. You know, most of the time when we go into this healing world, it's something that affected us personally. And your story is amazing to see the growth from your spine injury, to see you walk with so much erection and forwardness from the day one that we started school together actually has been amazing. And you've done so much work on yourself. And as you heal others, you're healing yourself. And with essential oils, we're going to speak on the benefits of it. Another question I want to ask is, how long have you been doing this work?
I was a student in 2012, 13. I got my license in early 2014. So I'm working on my 7th year now, just past my 6th.
Mm-hmm. And what are the results that people experience when receiving aromatherapy treatments, especially on anxiety and depression, where we're focused on today, anxiety and depression?
Well, essential oils affect the brain through our ability to smell and enter the area of the brain called the limbic brain, which is often referred to as the reptile brain. It's our emotional center. It's how we give perspective on events. And when it relates to smell, smell connects to events. So essential oils tap into that part of our brain. So whether it's for anxiety or depression, or for recovering from a cold, anti-spasmodic effects of essential oils, anti-inflammatory effects, they start with entering the brain through the limbic system.
And so that's why it's very beneficial to help with anxiety and depression due to the fact that it enters those former areas in the brain, correct?
Right. And it's the thing with essential oils is the chemical components have been studied quite widely. There's a lot known about the essential oils. The thing that varies is the quality of the oil and therefore the active ingredients. So, for example, drug companies don't study essential oils because they can't lock a patent and have exclusivity to what they've researched. And research in this country is very expensive, so it's very challenging to get the research that indicates that essential oils are actually quite good for anxiety and depression. I found an NIH study in preparation for this presentation that where the author of one of the review studies noticed that one of the authors of the studies that the review study looked at, the conclusion was that author gave essential oils short shrift. That in the estimation of the review, there actually was clear evidence, measurable evidence, that essential oils were useful for anxiety and depression. So that indicates we need lots and lots of studies, but who will pay for them is the challenge.
Right. And that is why here at Harlem Holistic Wellness Week, we want to really provide the community, especially now with so much pandemic with the corona, that people are suffering from anxiety, depression, which includes emotions like fear. Fear is very high at this moment with your heart racing or short of breath. Can you please explain a little bit of why in that functionality it works so well? Because it's in the convenience of your own home that you can use
right.
oils.
Right, yes, because anxiety intensifies symptoms, because typically we're talking about stress. Stress leads to anxiety, which can lead to anxiety disorder, and oftentimes anxiety and depression are together. They play off one another. So repeat your question. I lost my train of thought.
So pretty much, because it's so easy to find and most people think that it's difficult.
Oh, I'm sorry if I can interrupt. Yeah, so when we're anxious, we tap into our nervous system. Everything we do as human beings is affected by our nervous system. If we think of a muscle to flex, you flex your arm, that's a command that we're inherently capable of giving ourselves, and we activate the action that we request from ourselves. So if we're anxious, we can interfere with that process. So, for example, making our muscles tight. If we're anxious for an extended period of time, our muscles will get tighter. You know, we can actually, if somebody has arthritis, they can exacerbate their inflammation. Stress and anxiety affect us negatively.
Correct. And that is why essential oils are so essential. The name speaks for itself. The aromatherapy helps in helping you ease and slow your breathing and slow your heart rate. And so
the Chinese medicine perspective on essential oils, and you know this better as an acupuncturist, is that the essential oils are the essence of the plant. And that's likely why they affect human beings so positively, because the Jing, the essence of the plant, connects with the Jing, the essence of the human being, and makes an ethereal or energetic connection. There's a physiological event taking place, but there's the reason why essential oils are so tricky is that they have actions that are not always quantifiable. And that's also true of some drugs. Like, for example, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. They know that they being scientists, researchers, they know that they do work, but they don't know exactly in the end why. For example, a very well-established prescription anti-inflammatory Celebrex, it's a COX-2 inhibitor. That is known. But in the end, why it reduces inflammation is not clear. So essential oils are in that category, and without all the science behind it, like a pharmaceutical drug, it's much easier to dismiss them as hokum. And then you add people that are unscrupulous and they sell an oil like lavender. It's very, very popular. They can add an oil called Lavalin, dilute it, smells very much like Lavalin, or excuse me, like lavender. And you have something that's artificial, won't be as effective, and it gives that oil a bad reputation. So do that with the expensive oils and people who already don't believe that the oils are worth anything, and it's very easy to dismiss them.
And that's actually moving to my next question that I was going to ask you, which is very, 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 very important for everyone out there listening. It is the grade, the type of grade that you use that you can see a difference. It's just basically like what you eat is what affects you in your system. So if you eat a lot of fried food or if you eat a lot of processed food, you're not going to get the benefits of what food is supposed to do. Well, that's the same thing with essential oils. So my next question to you, Mr. Fernandez, is please discuss the importance and types of grades of oils when a person uses essential oils.
Right. That's where the chemistry can be complicated, and it's very, very useful to have a reputable seller, because there's no way as individuals, for example, one of the oils we'll talk about today is frankincense. It's from the Middle East and Africa. There's no way for us to source that. It's going to be nearly impossible. So we have to be able to interact with a seller, like in the city. One of the recommendations I make is for enfleurage.com. They're on West 13th Street. If they don't, if they are not able to connect with their known supplier, they won't sell the oil. They'll stop selling the oil, rather than say, "Oh, this guy down the street has it. We'll get it from him." So they know the source from seed to bottle. What Young Living claims doesn't live up to. Enfleurage, for example, is one of the many sellers. They're not the only one, but they're one of many sellers that is reputable, cares about what they sell, want their customers to get what they need. And then the oils themselves have, like fragrance, they have top, middle, and base notes. So they affect people differently. Like a few of the oils we're discussing, because they're for anxiety and depression, they're more deep. They're base notes. They actually go to our DNA, to who we are as physical species and beyond. Then there's the middle, the aspect of us that where, for example, where the acupuncture needle lands, just superficial to the muscle. And then there's the top notes that evaporate the most rapidly and help us release to the exterior, a term I know you're familiar with, to get what's deep out rather than allowing it to continue to sink. So just like when we have a cold, we want to get rid of it superficially as soon as possible. Otherwise, it can sink deeply and become pneumonia. The same is true of our emotions. The more we hold on to something painful, and the more it penetrates us more deeply, the greater the odds that emotional pathogen can stay with us and become something physiological.
Absolutely. And I want to really, really, really jump on what he says, is that the deeper your emotions get stuck in your body, it will be a part of your DNA at times, and many people don't realize that. And what essential oils, pure essential oils with the great product of it, can go deep into your DNA and help you release those emotions with proper supervision. And so I thank you for really clarifying that, because some of the things that you may find at CVS or certain pharmacists will not get the job done. It may make you feel better for a second, as in the smell, because anything that smells good is going to make you feel good temporarily. But with pure essential oils, it can really go in DNA. And
right. So, and also the upside of getting quality from a great seller is less is more. You don't need to use as much.
Absolutely. Less is more, and it brings quality to your life.
Mm-hmm. So because some of these, like a vitamin brand that I can think of, and I'll avoid name brands, is it's like, great, you make good vitamins, but when you look at their essential oil, where is it from? Not listed. Is it pure essential oil? From what plant? From what source? Is it organic, non-organic? So all this stuff is a mystery. So you're not actually sure what you're putting on your body. So it may be a reputable brand. Maybe it won't kill you. Maybe it won't harm your skin, but it's also not a quality essential oil.
Right. And I love what you said, simplicity. That is the story on holistic medicine anyway, simplicity. When you keep things simple, it will allow you to open up your body, mind, and spirit in so many different ways. And that's what essential oils does. And so before we go on with other questions that I have for you or the audience, if you guys are listening out there globally, if you have any questions for Fernandez or I, please let us know and we'll answer your question as much as possible. So we want you guys to interact with us. We want you to understand that holistically we are a community. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And so now, Fabian, please start your slideshow on the 5 important essential oils that can help with anxiety and depression more now than ever. Take it away, Fabian.
So you can see my PowerPoint?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So how can essential oils help? So it's useful to start with the definition of each word. Anxiety is characterized by unease, worry about uncertain outcomes or situations. And if that continues or a person has it, let's say genetically, deeply enough, it can interfere with our daily lives. And then depression, in comparison, according to the NIH, is for example, major depressive disorder or clinical depression is common, but it is a serious disorder, even though many people have it. It has varying forms of specificity, such as bipolar disorder and postpartum. So one of those is a lifelong condition, and one of them typically occurs after pregnancy and goes away, but sometimes it doesn't go away. And that's just two of many conditions. And the diagnoses of the various types typically have symptoms off of a checklist that a doctor might use. And they want to know that you've been experiencing these symptoms for at least 2 weeks persistently. And you can see there, they're being sad, anxious, empty, irritable, feelings of guilt or worthlessness, aches and pains, for example, cramps, digestive problems that don't have any biological disorder in connection with them. It's just you have these disorders, and it's largely our mind causing our physical bodies to be under deep distress. Or more deeply, it can be thoughts of death or suicide. And sometimes people who have attempted it, they may have never been diagnosed, attempt suicide, and they're diagnosed with depression. So what is an essential oil? Essential oil is a volatile extract. It's from an aromatic plant. We talk about volatile, you think of like something that might blow up. No, it's really, in chemistry, it's the definition of a chemical that evaporates quickly. It can be confused with something like gasoline because the vapors from the molecules that form the vapors of gasoline, they in and of themselves are flammable and combustible. So in a high enough concentration, that's what makes it explosive. But really, when we're talking about volatility, it's just the rapid evaporation of the chemical. And so how are essential oils created? They're extracted. And so typically they're either steam distilled in a vat, not unlike how liquor is distilled, or they're cold pressed the way olive oil is made, for example. And all essential oils are created from the aromatic part of the plant or tree. They can be anything from the flowers, leaves, twigs, the grass, peels, from citrus, and more. So here, this slide shows where, once we inhale anything, any aroma, this is the center of our brain where it goes. So it goes from our sinus, our nostrils, into our, eventually makes it to our olfactory bulb, and then our brain starts processing the aroma we've taken in. And you see essential oils affect the body by inhalation and skin absorption. So essential oils have a smaller molecule. So whether you're inhaling it or applying it to your skin, because of those molecules are smaller, they're absorbed very well or very quickly into the human body. And according to neurologists, when we inhale something and process it through our olfactory bulb, the functional organ of our smell, we give our brain signals, and then it enters the limbic system. And then that part of the brain recognizes emotional significance of events in our external world. And so we can smell, depending on the smell, we'll smell anything from fear, the smell can cause anything, emotional reaction of joy, anger, fear. So that's where the essential oils, if you know what you're inhaling, we're looking for that attractive aroma that makes us feel better. It helps us heal. And the impact of a smell can be extremely multi-layered, depending on it. So anybody, you can think of a childhood memory that's reacted because you smelt the flower when you were walking down the sidewalk, or somebody in your building's cooking a meal, and it's like, oh, I remember when my mother used to make that. So it can trigger memories. So what essential oils or which essential oils are useful, helpful for anxiety and depression? So I picked that there's two of the many authors, but these two, Julia Lawless and Salvatore Battaglia, they're very well respected and well established as authors and experts in essential oils. And their list includes the oils listed here. Many, the most common one that everybody's heard of is lavender. But also the peels tend to be varied. Like when you think of when you're making a meal and it calls for lemon essence, well, that's the very same material that the essential oil of lemon or bergamot and other peel fruits is used for. It goes through the machine, it's extracted strictly by force without heat, and the essential oil is created through that process. And today, the ones in bold are the ones that we're talking about today. And so the first one is bergamot. It's named after the Italian city of Bergamo. And the part of the fruit for citrus is always the peel. And you see that they take both, extraction occurs both from the peel of a green and a yellow bergamot fruit. So there you see a lot of information, but I'm just going to focus on what's useful to people. Bergamot blends well with most essential oil. So that's the upside of it. The danger, the concern with bergamot is if you put bergamot on your skin, even with a carrier oil like a lotion or jojoba, that type of thing, it still creates a photosensitivity. So if you use bergamot on your skin, you have to stay out of the sun safely for 24 hours. Literature tends to say 12 hours, but I always tell people 24 hours just to be safe. But meanwhile, it has these powerful yet gentle antidepressant anxiolytic effects. So anxiolytic means it reduces anxiety. It has a cooling, calming yet uplifting quality to it. And it's also useful for digestive concerns that are caused by nervousness and anxiety. And it can be diffused. I use it in my office, typically in a diffuser, where I'll put a piece of cotton or tissue under a client's cradle so they inhale it throughout the massage, either through the diffuser or right there next to their face. And that way they get the benefit of bergamot without the concern for the sunlight. But often during the winter, you can put it in a blend and people aren't going out in the sun, so they'll be perfectly safe. Another one that's some people may be familiar with it is geranium. And it's a flowery plant. It's like a little bush. And the part of the plant that's used in geranium is both the leaves and the flowers and the stalks. All of those pieces have the fragrance of geranium. And geranium can be found anywhere from South Africa to the Reunion Islands, which are off the coast of Africa, which is off the coast of Madagascar. It's a teeny tiny little island that they make beautiful geranium. And geranium is adaptogenic, both for our emotions and our hormones. So even though it's a chemical, doesn't have hormonal content, it adapts to the human condition, be it for emotions, for skin, because it works on dry or moist skin, or for emotions, or for hormones. It's very useful for women who are dealing with PMS or painful menses. So in terms of anxiety and depression, it's especially useful for restlessness and tiredness that's derived from excess stress or adrenal burnout. So geranium can be it's a very rose-like aroma, and it's an excellent addition to blends that are related to anxiety and depression. And it's steam distilled through those power plants I mentioned. And you see there at the bottom, it's a excellent, it blends well with bergamot, cedarwood, pine, for example, and rosemary. Frankincense, it's a biblically.
Fabian, just wanted to say one thing. When you said
Sure.
that with bergamot, I want the community to know globally that with bergamot, when you use it with pine, pine is very grounding, and so it allows you to really stay grounded and more clear. And I just wanted to add that. I had a question.
Yeah, and pine is actually very well connected to spiritual. Like pine is wonderful for cleaning a meditation space. So pine has a wonderful connection to human energy.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Frankincense is an ancient essential oil. It's in the Bible. It's actually used in not only the three monotheistic religions, but also in Buddhism and other religions as well. And you see there where I have this inset, you see on that bottom right-hand corner, that's where the sap, the resin is coming out of the tree. Because what's done is an incision of 2 to 4 inches is made in the tree. That resin seeps out, it's collected, allowed to dry, and those crystals are what are distilled to become the frankincense essential oil. And it can be found anywhere from the Arabian Peninsula, like Oman is a very respected place for frankincense essential oil. And it has very powerful antidepressant, sedative qualities. In Chinese medicine, it's called calms the mind. And it promotes the flow of qi because it helps relieve pain. So it's a multifaceted essential oil that not only works as an antidepressant, but works for your body, heals wounds, anti-inflammatory, antispasmodic, helps clear your lungs, expectoration, and it also dilates your bronchi. So very powerful essential oil. I had a student once that said, when in doubt, use frankincense. And I agree with that very much.
I absolutely agree. And especially now with this coronavirus, this helps not only with your heart and your mind and spirit and dealing with emotions, but it also helps with lung and respiratory issues. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and it's a base note, so it's a very deeply affecting essential oil. Neroli is one of the citrus that's not commonly known because it's very expensive. You see there, that's the citrus of the bitter orange, and there are the flowers from the tree. And neroli essential oil is one that is ripe for adulteration because the leaves and the twigs do have aroma. They're aromatic parts of the plant, but the quality is quite distinct from the flower. So the unscrupulous seller or supplier might mix the flower with the plant parts, and it'll smell very much like neroli, but it won't have its potency. A way of dramatizing it is it takes 3,000 pounds of neroli flowers to create 1 ounce of essential oil. So that's why it's so expensive, and that's why it's so tempting to adulterate it. And meanwhile, it's a very powerful hypotensive. It reduces our tension, and it's also an anxiolytic like bergamot, but at a much more powerful, deep level than bergamot. And it calms the shen, which is where Flora knows more than most that in Chinese medicine, it's where we house our mind. So when we hear about heartbreak, it's not just a phrase. It actually has a connection to our physical heart because our energetic heart is where we store our sanity in some ways. And so neroli can help calm our minds, especially in times like today. And a way of applying it is and all these oils can either be, even bergamot with those caveats, all of these oils can be applied directly through a carrier oil or lotion on the skin or diffused. They have this diffuser that I got at Muji in Times Square when they were still around. And then it's also it's both a middle note and a base note. So it affects that level near the muscles, but it also is a more deeply affecting oil. And it's, as I was describing, it's you want, or has to be, that neroli flowers is the sole source of the essential oil. And lastly, vetiver. It's a grass that's been used in India and Asia since antiquity. And it's a very grounding, calming essential oil. and it really supports the nervous system as well. It reduces anxiety, helps people who have insomnia and feelings of depression recover from those. And it also, another essential oil that is very useful for women that are experiencing PMS symptoms that are related to sadness. So it's a base note, it's a deeply affecting oil as well. It's found from the root of that grass. And you see it mixes well or blends well with frankincense, geranium, lavender, pine as well, and ylang ylang. And vetiver is interesting in that it's considered complex. So I list there the vetiverol chemical ingredient, but no two batches of vetiver will be exactly the same because of the way, when it's distilled, how the chemicals come together. So when considering using essential oils, it's very important because essential oils are generally safe until they're not. So as a beginner, it's very important to never, ever apply undiluted essential oils onto your skin. Unless you're working with an aromatherapy expert, never do that because it's dangerous in that you can create a sensitivity where you might get, let's say, a minor rash, or if you do it often enough, you might become sensitized to that single oil or to all essential oils, where you just can't be around them because you were putting essential oils directly on your skin. And what Flora and I were talking about earlier, less is more. A good quality essential oil, you only need 1 to 3 drops. It does not take that many drops. Whether you're going to put it in a blend or a diffuser, use it sparingly because quality oils do not need to be used in heavy quantities. And then know your essential oil origin. Find a reputable, trustworthy supplier. Essential oil and aromatherapy are only 5% of all the essential oil used in the world. So it's very easy to encounter adulterated or poor quality essential oils, as Flora and I were talking about. And the good oils, they're always clearly labeled. You know where what you're buying is from and what it is. It's not a mystery. When it's a mystery, that's already a signal that something may be going on. And for example, in town, I love using Enfleurage. They're on West 13th Street, a couple doors down from Integral Yoga. And I've always had a good experience with them because they won't carry something unless they know where it's from.
Absolutely. And I want to add a little bit of what you said. And thank you, Fabian, for that very clear information on essential oils, because essential oils is so, at times, with so much information, with a short period of time, I think you did very well in explaining why it's so important for anxiety and depression. And many people that don't know where Mr. Fernandez lives or is at, when he says 13th Street, that is in New York City. And for those that are not living in New York City and watching globally, please, let people know where they can find good quality source of essential oils.
Yeah, that's like I was saying, Enfleurage, ENFLEURAGE.com. There's a place in Maine called sunrosearomatics.com. It's a married couple that love essential oils, and they work with them with passion. And then a more commercial place that students have brought to me that I've always liked the oils presented to me, but I've never personally bought from them, is a place called, but they also tend to have pretty good prices. So a quality at a decent price is planttherapy.com. Those are 3 sources that people can check out.
Planttherapy.com.
That's right.
Okay, for those that are listening and unable to travel due to what's happening here with quarantine and you want to order, you can go to planttherapy.com. And if you're in the New York City area on 13th Street in Manhattan, what is the location?
And it's also online as well, enfleurage.com. Enfleurage is an ancient extraction technique, and so they cleverly named their store after a technique that's no longer used. Hardly ever used. Yeah.
Thank you. And for those of you that have any questions, please let us know. And even afterwards, look at our Facebook page, Harlem Holistic Wellness Week, and we'll provide all the information necessary. You don't have the questions or right now, or we don't have the answers right now, we'll definitely get back to you and provide that information all week long until May 2nd. Oh, I have a question here. I like to have a list of the best brands. Okay, and we actually provided that. Can you repeat it again?
Yep, mflorage.com, sunrosearomatics.com, and planttherapy.com.
And another question is how to use a cheat sheet if you have it, for example. Perhaps you can share your sheets to us as a guide. Oh,
the stuff I have is teaching material, not quite ready for publication. So it's years in the making. So maybe one day I'll publish it. I've actually had people say that, but in order to publish the things I've created, I'd have to make sure everything's sourced and all that. So I haven't created that sourcing.
But
in other words, this presentation is all tied to facts, legitimate sources. But if you saw, none of them are listed. So same with my essential oil list. I have a lot of factoid sheets, but none of them are proper. They don't have a proper bibliography. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Well, when you complete that, since you're a colleague of mine and a longtime friend, when you finish it, I will provide it to the website on Facebook page as well, h2w.nyc, or on Facebook, Harlem Holistic Wellness Suite, and I will provide
for you. What I can do is I'll put up those 5 info sheets that are in the slide presentation. I can put those up.
Wonderful, thank you. So we'll share that. Thank you for the question. And we have another question. What increases yin energy?
Yeah, and for those that don't know what yin energy is, so if you notice on the slide presentation, the oils are either warming or cooling. So the ones that are cooling are more yin. So the one that's considered like depends on what we're talking about. So the one that's most, one of the oils considered the most yin is ylang ylang. It's a very cooling base note, very floral. Actually called the tree is called the flower of flowers, the Kananga plant. So if I had to speak in those terms, which isn't my strength, I would say ylang ylang is the most yin, or among the most yin.
I would have to agree with you as well. It's very and for those of you that don't know what yin energy means, can you explain to the audience what yin energy means, please?
Well, you know better than me. I would leave them. Okay. You have much more knowledge about yin and yang.
Okay. Well, I will answer that question. So yin energy is from your full source of your DNA. So we have the yang, which is the outside exterior of your emotion. So like, for example, a plant's leaf is the exterior, or you're shouting out and screaming is the exterior of your emotions. Your yin is what you truly feel or what your DNA is. And so what that specific herb or essential oils, it helps with your DNA. It actually can go really internally and release. That's why it's very important to get supervision when you work with these essential oils, because quality makes a difference.
And yeah, with licensed professionals, because they're very excellent aromatherapy certifications. So if that's one category, and then working like I'm a massage therapist, Flora is both a massage therapist and licensed acupuncturist. People working with a license have to protect themselves in how they work with the oils. I'm not going to do anything to harm you and in turn harm my license. So people with a license will be more likely to take care of you with aromatherapy than not.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And we can help with emotions in a certain way. Sometimes these type of potent essential oils can release an exterior so deep that at times, if you're not professionally equipped with assisting that patient, it can falter. So please keep in mind when we give you this information is to also get professional assistance with this. We have another question. Hello, Keith. Any insight on Plant Life?
Is that a brand? I'm not familiar with Plant Life.
I'm not quite sure either if that's a brand. Another question is any contraindications on using essential oils? Hello, Ms.
Yeah. Yes, there can be. Like, for example, with bergamot, you want to make absolutely sure, either you or if you're a licensed professional, your client will not be in the sun within 24 hours of using the essential oil. Some oils, let's say like rosemary, a beautiful, excellent essential oil, excellent in this time of COVID for diffusing. It's an antiviral. It can be very irritating for some people. So it depends on the oil, depends on the person. But in general, rosemary, for example, does not bother. I've never had a client that I put it on and say, oh, it's like, why is it so red? And that kind of thing. So but that is known contraindication to using rosemary. It can irritate some people's skin. So it depends on the oil, what the contraindication might be.
Simplicity is everything, especially in the Eastern medicine world of life. Simplicity will soothe your soul. So I have another question. Thank you for those questions. Please discuss the importance of how essential oils should be applied. I think that's a very important question.
Yeah. So going to that last slide, remember less is more. Whether you're diffusing it or putting it on your body, 1 to 3 drops top. So like, for example, if you're doing, my guideline is 3 to 5 oils, 1 to 3 drops each. So if you're using 5 oils, 3 drops, that's 15 drops. That's a very potent blend you've just created. So think if you were using 5, 10 drops, 50 drops in 1 ounce of some kind of oil or lotion, that's too strong. So it's very important to keep that rule in mind of less is more. When you're diffusing, even though you can use the same amount, it tends to be that you don't need to use as much essential oil. So often 1 drop is more than enough. And I created this, the 5 oils that we worked with today, I created this blend, and it's really good. And one of the things I did to create it,
I can smell
it. One of the things I did was for the taste notes, I only used 1 drop because they're so strong. That way they don't overwhelm, for example, the bergamot, because it's already kind of getting hidden there. There's not really a strong citrus smell. So it's 1 to 3 drops. For example, this is a 1 ounce bowl. So you want to use, if it was a bergamot, you're using as little as 4 drops for that ounce of oil. So you really want to understand what you're doing when you create the blend. So keep it simple. Use less if possible. Use less because less is more, and always use it with a carrier. Carrier meaning a lotion or oil. If you're using lotion, unscented is best. Those are hard to find, so which is why you use an oil like jojoba. Unscented, skin loves jojoba. You blend it with an ounce of, take an ounce of jojoba, 1 to 3 drops of 3 to 5 oils, and you have something that your skin's going to tend to love.
Very clear. And when he means ingestion, there's different ways. You can.
Ingestion is a disaster.
Right. And that's why I was going to lead to that. So if you decide to ingest it, right, make sure that it's not under the tongue, but above the tongue, in the center of your tongue. It's very important.
From my practice, I never, because you're a doctor of Chinese medicine, so your license allows, I cannot recommend and do not recommend, go as far as say never ingest an essential oil, because unless it's of the very, 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 very highest quality, it can kill your liver and kidney. And by the time the injury is showing up on the blood test, there's already the potential for irreparable damage to your organs.
Exactly.
So if you're doing that, you have to do it with somebody who knows to the nth degree what they're doing with essential oils.
Right.
I see in the literature there are people that have studied it say, oh, this is safe, but when they're talking about it's safe, they're talking about oils of the highest quality.
Absolutely. And again, professional supervision when you are ingesting it. And so let's be clear with that. So essential oils to its purest form can be just as potent and sometimes more dangerous than pharmaceutical medicine. So that is why we're here to educate the community, to allow people to be aware. And that's why I'm so thankful and grateful to have a platform and have a voice and be a part of a wonderful committee like Harlem Holistic Wellness Week to provide information to the entire community and virtually. And moving forward to the next question. So for mental stress, especially more now than ever, to remind the audience the key points on the 5 essential oils that you discussed to help people during these times when people are feeling so fearful, anxiety, and depression.
So the thing I take away when using the oils for emotional support is it is useful to combine it with other modalities for your being and for your body. The essential oils are, like, as a massage therapist, I look at them as a tool, an aid to my clients and patients. I don't say to them, we're done with this blend, that's it, you're fixed. So put them in a perspective that says they can be useful. My doctor thinks I had COVID-19. I didn't cure myself with essential oils, but I was distilling the antivirals, like rosemary, for example. And I'm pretty sure they helped me recover by getting the superficial action of an antiviral into my sinuses and in turn into my bloodstream. But I never ingested it, right? So it's use them as a tool, allow them to help you, but don't think of them as the cure-all to be, to end all. Because there's literature that says they do this for cancer and that for this disease. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But that's under the strictest medical supervision of somebody who has an expertise far beyond what I know.
Right. And I'm here to say, through my personal experience and in my office with patients, I can say this because I am a holistic doctor, and I can say that rosemary is one of the best antiviral with coughing up phlegm, that one of symptoms in coronavirus. So if you're out there listening and you are feeling some kind of chest pain, which can lead to sometimes with anxiety and fear, can lead to some lung respiratory issue, the go to your cabinet, rosemary. Rosemary.
And it moves chi, so it energetically moves that stagnation as well.
Absolutely. It would clear off that cough with that phlegm and that mucus, and it would definitely help you breathe better. We have another question. Should some essential oils never be mixed?
If that's true, it would be because they don't smell very good together. Because there's a axiom that blending by fragrance has no rules. But if you know what the oil does, why would you ignore what its function is to just blend by smell? So you may get something that will work therapeutically, but it may not be the most wonderful smell. There's like clary sage and sweet marjoram. What I've noticed in a little over 3 years of teaching is some students like them, but there's very, very, very few that love those 2 oils. They're not the most special aroma, but they're highly functional, excellent muscle relaxers.
Absolutely. It reminds me of a little story with my grandmother, which I actually named my business after. Many blessings to her. It's that sometimes medicine, or most of the time, it's not supposed to taste good. In her Spanish accent, toma esto, no importa. Esto es bueno para usted. So basically it's saying medicine is not always supposed to taste good, because after a while, you don't want to get addicted to it, right? So it works because it doesn't taste good and you don't want to take it again, right? So a lot of medicines that's happening now, especially in the pharmaceutical area, they're sweetening it. They're adding fructose to it. And so that can also be addictive, because then you're not getting the precise alignment for your system. And that also can happen also if you're working with essential oils or any herbal plant life, and then you start putting too much honey. Some people get mistaken as, oh, it's honey, it's natural, it comes from nature. Well, guess what?
Or converts to sugar, right?
Sweetening it. And then you're not allowing the chemicals that normally are supposed to be working with it. So let's keep in mind that Medicine, most of the time, and I thank mi abuelita, is not supposed to be most of the time not taste good.
Yeah,
Because
even the oil we discussed today, neroli. I used to know someone that at the time they smelled neroli, I didn't know they were an alcoholic, and they were repelled by the aroma. But meanwhile, that clearly is an aroma they needed, right? Because if you're an alcoholic, the implication is you're living with depression of the deepest kind. And so sometimes that what you are repelled by is exactly what you need. That's a theory in essential oils.
Absolutely. And as a doctor in essential oils and getting that background as well, because I work a lot with essential oils with my patients. And I have to also agree with you on that part that at times it's just like that old saying that my grandmother used to say, abuelita, she would say, ooh, okay, that's great. Then take another shot of it because you're saying ooh, because it's supposed to be working with you, right? And that is the same thing when you're repelling, it's because your body and your system needs it. And when you're depressed, you don't want life. You don't want to. So really, that's a sign. When you're feeling that, it's to basically say, hey, I'm repelling it, so I need it in my system. So very good key, Fabian. We have another question. Hello, Cordelia. Welcome. I prefer herbs to use the whole plant. I've also been told that oils are dehydrating. How can you answer that question?
Well, it depends on the oils. Like there are oils that, for example, geranium that uses most of the plant, and that's because so many of the aromatic parts are considered of equal quality, and so it's all distilled together, shredded and distilled together. But once that's an essential oil applied correctly with a carrier oil, it's actually quite wonderful for the skin. On the other hand, tea tree, considered good for the skin, but used in excess, can be very dry. So it depends how the oils is, what the oil is, and how it is used, in my opinion.
Correct. It depends, and I will definitely repeat that as well. It's how you use it and the amount that you use, and with the combination of what you're blending it with.
Mm-hmm.
So we answered that question. And we have another one. Thank you guys for participating because we really want the community to be a part. We do believe here in Harlem Holistic Wellness Week that a community can brighten someone's life as we pretty much bless ourselves. We bless others by continuing to educate ourselves so that we can pass it forward. So how do you apply rosemary is what Keith asks.
So that can be applied both. Let's say you feel like you're coming on with something or you're recovering from something. So you would put 3 drops of rosemary. It can be all by itself. You can even combine rosemary and eucalyptus. Be very strong in a chemical known as CT. 1,8 cineol, 1,8 cineol. They both have that ingredient. Very excellent for expectoration and opening up the lungs. So it can be applied with a carrier, be it lotion or oil, directly on the chest. For example, if you're doing it because you want to breathe better. But it's also useful to put it in a diffuser. So this one, let me see, I'll turn it on.
Yep, we see the steam. I'm feeling it.
Right. So this is going in the room. It has a kind of cleansing effect on the space that you're using the oil in. So that's another way. And let's say you don't have a diffuser and you don't want to spend the money on a diffuser. If you have, hang on a second. You take a little glass, put a little bit of water in it. See there on top, those are the oils. You zap this in the microwave for 20 seconds. Put it about this distance, and you can inhale it. Put a towel on your head, that kind of thing. And it's an inexpensive way to diffuse an essential oil.
So these are little remedies and tools that we've shown you as an aid when you're home that you can do, especially during this quarantine time. We have another question. I heard that some oils are very attractive to the opposite sex. Are there any oils that you should or shouldn't wear on a date? Ooh, I love that question.
Yeah, well, the most well-known and potent aphrodisiac is ylang ylang. That is, and actually, it's one of the questions I ask my students is ylang ylang has this interesting quality of being sedating, calming, but meanwhile, it's also an aphrodisiac, so it's stimulating. So it's at once a sedative and it's a stimulant. So, but in terms of the question, yeah, ylang ylang is absolutely an aphrodisiac, and if you want to keep your date off it, you may not want to wear it.
Mm-hmm. But if you want to keep your date going, use it, because this is about wellness, and we are all adults here. And that that is another emotion when you find true love, and you can respectfully show love in so many different ways. Why not use what you may have in your home? Essential oils, and along with quarantine, why not produce so much love out in this world? So that was a great question. We are grown adults. Sex education and health is very important, more now than ever. And after this, the human touch is going to be very important.
I have a feeling there'll be a baby boom coming after this.
So keep ylang ylang nearby.
Yeah, another big one is Jasmine, of course, the queen of the night. Another one is Jasmine. But of the two, ylang ylang is not cheap, but Jasmine's like outer space. Like $50 for 2 little milliliters. Yeah.
That's another one to help improve your sexual activity, which is, he said it here again, H2W. You heard it first here. Outer space. Jasmine can help with that as well. So Jasmine and ylang ylang is great for that. We have one more last question before we start slowing it out and tuning out. Is that, can you recommend a diffuser?
Not by brand, but if you do like even an instant search on Amazon, there's a ton of them. And I would use, that's where, cause so many products on Amazon, it's like, do these stars mean anything? That's where, like, if it's got 400 or 500 reviews, 5 stars, 30, like I see one that's like $30. It's got 5 stars. Over 400 people have reviewed it. $30. It's likely to be a good diffuser. Because the technology is really advanced. When I bought the one I showed you guys, that was like 4 or 5 years ago at Muji in Times Square, in the New York Times building. It was like $75. You don't need to spend that kind of money on a diffuser anymore. You can get a good one between $25 and $35. But I don't have a specific brand to recommend.
Okay, no specific brand. And I also want to add that sometimes if you can't afford a diffuser, I also say what my abuelita said. My abuelita was a very wise woman, and she would say, if you can't afford things, use your creative side. So a pot with water, that's a diffuser, guys. So let's keep it simple. Let's also remember that.
Stay safe if you do that.
Exactly. Safety, of course. But you don't have a diffuser and can't afford it, or you're afraid for whatever reason and don't want to leave the house, but you want to remain grounded and peaceful in mind, use a pot and water. And put some essential oils in there. That can be great for family night, date night, or for whatever reason you want to use it, to study, to increase your creativity in singing or dancing. Go for it. You heard it.
I'm old enough to where, remember we used to have to put potpourri in a pot and just boil it. That's
exactly.
That's as good as it got, yeah.
Simplicity. That's the key. That is the key, everyone. And on that note, I like to end it by saying thank you. We appreciate you, Fabian Fernandez. And anyone wants to reach out to you and have any more questions, please give your information out so they can contact you.
All right. You can get to me at info at Fabian, FABIAN, LMT.com. FabianLMT.com.
And we'll be posting things on Harlem Holistic Wellness Week Facebook page, and you'll have all that information. Info at Fabian, FABIN, LMT.com. And by the way, he gives amazing massages. So please look out for him. Absolutely. Look out for him. I'm thankful and grateful on behalf of Harlem Holistic Wellness Week, H2W Planning Committee. We thank you so much for being a part of this. And peace and love to everyone. Stay safe. And here at Love Stream, as I said,
it's a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you so much. And
take care.
Thank you. Take care and stay well. I want to end by saying Love Stream is a place that will make you feel uncomfortable. And topics that we will discuss will make you feel uncomfortable. But that is something that is necessary to our spirit, because that will allow you to become more open and more aware when you challenge those difficulties. On behalf of myself and the H2W Planning Committee, we send you peace, love, and gratitude. Be safe, everyone. Sounding out.